Well, good morning again, everyone, and we're going to get started with our second panel of the morning. And it's been a very invigorating discussion, and let me say that we have individuals watching this session from Washington, D.C. to Florida to New York to California. So we have a great national and even international audience, and we are pleased to have this kind of interaction with regard to some obviously very critical issues. And I thought the panel we just had was fantastic. This is a panel of individuals here at the University of Missouri who will give a first-hand sense of what those steps look like from our perspective. And obviously, we had a good lead in that from the last panel. I'm going to turn this panel discussion and moderation over to my colleague, our Vice Provost for International Programs, Dr. Handy Williamson, who's had extensive experience with USAID here in the United States and abroad, and in the international programs here at the university. Handy.
Thank you, Brady, and good morning to all. I am pleased to have a chance to moderate this panel because it relieves me of the opportunity or the possibility of having to put my foot in my mouth more than once, because we are engaged in discussing very sensitive, important material. What I wanted to do first before I introduce the panel is give a cut at the challenges as we see them and as they are. And these are the broad questions. As opposed to making declarative statements about the challenges that we face, I thought it would be more appropriate to raise the questions so we can engage ourselves in seeking answers over time. And the first question is, can policymakers be made to be more sensitive to the global long-term perspective? Global long-term means more than 2 years, more than 4 years. People in AID will know what I'm talking about. People from Washington will also know what I'm talking about. We have to show success within short windows, and it creates problems. The second question is, how can the global convergence of information and communication technology work for everyone? It sounds as if that could happen quite easily since the capacity is there, but maybe the will is not there. The next question is, how can ethical market economies be encouraged to help reduce the gap between the rich and the poor? Over the past 200 years, we have not achieved that. And there are reasons why we haven't. And those reasons haven't gone away. The next question is, how can the threat of new and re-emerging diseases and immune microorganisms be reduced? We thought for a long time we had conquered many diseases, but as Mother Nature is changing her pattern of behavior, we are discovering that we've got to start almost from square one to combat those diseases under different circumstances. The next challenge is, how can the changing status of women help to improve the human condition? After many, many years of engagement in Africa and developing countries around the world, we finally discovered that the role of women is much important. In agriculture, in some countries, women head the household and carry out the farming. And it has been discovered that when the woman is involved in the enterprise, the family eats better. The next one is, how can growing energy demands be met safely and efficiently? The next one is, how can scientific and technological breakthroughs be accelerated to improve the human condition? And the last is, how can ethical considerations become more routinely incorporated into global decision? Now, these questions are very broad and very big. They might seem disconnected from the discussion that went on just before, but indeed they are not. They are the overarching questions that we must deal with. I'm going to skip my next set of slides. It was a commercial about University of Missouri. If we have enough time, I'll do it later. We have a distinguished panel of colleagues from the University of Missouri who will be presenting from their respective areas information and insight into our university and how it has been engaged and how they see the global challenges unfold. Bob Sharp, to my immediate left, is the director of the Interdisciplinary Plant Group, which is an international group that has converged to address problems on the part of scientists from many countries around the world. To Bob's left is Mark Leonard, the Associate Dean of the College of Agriculture, Food and Natural Resources, and of course the director of the University of Missouri Agricultural Experiment Station. To Brady's left is Woody Myers, one of the four economists sitting before you, who has been involved in the work of FAPRI, a premier organization to which the U.S. government turns to for policy advice every year. A premier organization which has been turned to by the European Union, Turkey, and other nations that want to have better policy perspectives. And last but not least, my colleague, Jeff Fendis, one of the premier ag economists who has tremendous amount of experience in Africa and other places around the world. She is a storehouse of knowledge, and she is the only person that I've met who doesn't want to talk as much as I do. With having said that, we're going to turn to our first presenter.